This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 383. Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show. Hey, folks, Bruce Hutchin, your host and producer of Whitetail Rendezvous. Got a good show coming up, actually a pretty great one with John Fore of Calculated Killers. John's going to talk about a lot of things about whitetail hunting in the mountains of Appalachia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and Virginia. He's going to talk about early season prep, just what you have to do to get ready to take Mr. Wonderful. He's also going to tell you how he spends hours in the off season using maps and looking for terrain and breaks in the terrain and saddles and pinch points. He does a lot of work, and you're going to enjoy that. And the last thing and the most important thing, he talks about the adventure of hunting, not just to kill, but the adventure of it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show with John Fore of West Virginia. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're heading down to Southwest Virginia. We're going to connect with John Fore. John and his buddy Josh Bias are the founders of Calculated Killers. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bruce, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was fun talking with Josh a week or so ago, and he had some good input. And now I get his right-hand man with you, John. So let's start right off and get your take on Calculated Killers, why you guys are doing what you're doing, and let's talk about it.
All right, cool. Josh was the first founder of it, I guess, and Josh and I met, and we kind of had the same train of thought on what we were wanting to do, and we teamed up. What we're trying to do is show that the average hunter, the guy who works 40 hours a week, who puts the time in and is calculated about it with the right products and the right time, the right properties, that they can harvest mature animals. And we show our tactics on the page and just what we do to make it work, and that's a common goal for everybody. And even it's just our goal. That's what we do, and that's what we're trying to show through the page.
Now, you're on, what's the social media pages you're on? So if somebody wants to go check you out.
If you want to check us out, go to Facebook, type in Calculated Killers. You'll see 90% of our stuff on there. We're also on Instagram at Calculated Killers, and we have a lot of stuff on YouTube too. And that's just YouTube at Calculated Killers as well.
All right, folks. So if you want to follow up after the show, that's where you head. And, Southwest Virginia, talk to me about the terrain and the mountains that you hunt in. How hard is it?
I tell people it is it's the hardest place to hunt I've ever been, because it's so steep, rugged. You have to deal with the people, and it's a very mentally tough place to hunt. I mean, you're talking, the fields aren't there. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of just huge timber lots that are straight up and straight down. And it's bow hunt only. In the 4 counties that we hunt, there are no guns allowed. So it's, you're putting yourself on a huge piece of property similar to our lease, a 2,000 acre lease with a stick and a string, so that scouting and everything comes in to figure out where to be. And it's a tough place to hunt, to say the least.
So how did you figure out how to sort it out so you can get on some mature bucks every single year?
Well, I give Josh a lot of credit for this. He's taught me a lot of things. And map reading is something that you have to brush your skills up on to hunt in southern West Virginia. You have to be able to read topo maps. You have to be able to read aerial maps. You got to be able to find these points, these benches, these shelves, these pinch points where these deer are going to be. I mean, when you go in the early season and you walk up to this property, this huge property, 3 hours away from where you live, it's impossible to scout it. So you got to be able to read these maps to pick out 8 or 10 spots to see what's there. You run your cameras, you get your minerals out, and you see what's happening, and you look for the success at those points, and you hunt your most visited areas. That's all you can do.
Now, there's more to it than that. You just said a lot in a few sentences. How do you, let's just break it down. How do you decide you're going to hunt X public land? So I'm assuming you're hunting public land, or do you have
No, no.
leases?
Well, we lease through timber companies. These are private tracts. You know, one thing that I really look for are old logging roads. I love old logging roads. Back when in the cuts on the side of the hills, the bucks seem to love them. They rub and scrape up and down them. It's that is my big key. If I can find an old logging road that connects with a bench, similar, there's one place that I love to hunt on my lease, and it has two logging roads coming to one point, and it's just a huge travel corridor for these deer. The deer are not going to be on the main roads with these people riding four wheelers and all this stuff. So if you get down on these roads and the benches, the shelves, and these logging roads coming around, it can really increase your odds at hunting these deer.
So you're sitting at home and you know your land. How many acres did you guys lease?
We have leased right now 1,968 acres.
Okay, how many guys on the lease?
We have 15 on the lease right now.
Oh my goodness, 100 acres a guy.
Yeah, but we also have some more land opened up to us in the back, and it's not what you think. A lot of the guys are just bear hunters. West Virginia has an early 2-week bear season, and so really about 8 guys hunting deer on the 1,900 acres.
So that's not too bad.
No, and it's but it's a huge tract of land. It's impossible to hunt it all, and you got to pick your points and go from there, and then see what the success is. You try a few spots, you run your cameras. Trail cameras are everything. To me, you got to have the pictures, you got to have the eyes in the field, and you just go off what's on camera. And the biggest key to Josh's success last year, and I just really got into him this year for me, are the wireless trail cameras. They tell you everything, and it's immediate info, exact time info. You know where to be, when to be there, and they're huge.
Yeah, and I know one friend that has a whole series. He's got about 500 acres on his farm, and up in middle of Wisconsin, boy, and every morning, every night, and every morning, he goes to him. I mean, he just goes to his TV and just clicks on, and he can tell what came through after everybody's out of the field. Say it's 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, and then you can go right through and say, "Wow, that buck was just waiting for us." There's a lot of information you can tell, when you have that wireless. Plus, you can put alerts, and so you can put station X, and all of a sudden, Mr. Wonderful goes by there, bing, it hits your cell
Hit your phone. Yeah, and they are the most advanced scouting tool I have ever used, and it's excuse me there, but they're a game changer. There's no other ifs, ands, buts about it. A wireless trail camera is a game changer. Not only for hunting, but for security reasons, for your leases, to keep everything. I mean, you're actually seeing real time data of what's happening at that moment. You don't have to wait to 3 or 4 weeks to go check cameras. And then our leases are 3 hours away. So you can actually, in November, when we really get them running, you can tell when the deer get hot. You know when you need to be there. And then again, like I said before, when you're hunting these huge woodlots, these huge acreages that connect with each other, and the deer numbers in southern West Virginia, it's not like the Midwest. The deer numbers aren't there like they are in the Midwest or even down here in North Carolina. And so you really have to maximize your opportunities by being there at the right time to hunt these deer. And wireless trail cameras gives you that exact reading of that exact moment of data when you need to be there. When you see these cameras firing up, you need to be in a tree.
That's interesting. Now, you're 3 hours away, so talk to me about your tower. Do you just have one tower on the lease?
Well, in West Virginia, you kind of got to be on top or near the top to get any service. AT&T is the way to go, of course, up there. But you got to kind of pick and choose where you put them. We've been very lucky on our lease with AT&T getting signal. Verizon doesn't work worth a crap up there, but AT&T does, and we run a lot of Spartan Go cams. We're gonna have about 15 of them running this year, so it's gonna be wild. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not gonna get much sleep or much work done because my phone's gonna be going off, but it's gonna be fun knowing when to be there, and I'm gonna be ready to go.
Yeah, did you ever hear of Deer Lab? John
Yeah,
Livingston?
yeah. John Livingston, he's a great guy. We do some work with him, and all of our pictures go through Deer Lab, and that is an awesome product for scouting deer. It tells you everything down to a T of what a mature buck, whatever you put in there is doing, and how they're coming to that point off the weather patterns, wind, barometric pressure, everything.
So just let's give John Livingston from Deer Lab because, uh, to my knowledge, he does the best job, in the business.
Hands down, best job.
And so, okay, you get a picture. What does that picture tell you? So you trail camera fires. You get a picture of a doe. It doesn't matter, raccoon. It doesn't matter. You've got a picture. So what does Deer Lab do?
My picture comes through to me. Say it's a big buck. It's a big buck I'm chasing. Deer Lab. It's a daylight picture. I put it in my Deer Lab system. It tells me the wind direction. It tells me the pressure, the barometric pressure. It tells you the moon phase. It tells you, gives you a heat map of when he's coming to this area. If you've had multiple pictures of that deer, and it really just breaks down all the scouting that we used to have to do by ourselves. And I'm sure you've done it too. Dig through records, dig through weather patterns, and it does it for you. I mean, it's an awesome program, and you can really get a buck down to a T. And I'm a firm believer that mature bucks do the same thing over and over and over again. They like a certain wind. They travel most of the same corridors, and it can really increase your odds on getting on that deer if you know what works in his favor. And Deer Lab does that for me. It's an awesome program. John Livingston does a great job with it. He's a great owner, a great guy, and he's got my business for life for sure.
So, folks, just to summarize, moon phase, barometer, uh, weather condition, rain, snow, sleet, hail,
Everything.
everything. Holy crap! Excuse me on that. I don't know where that. We got some background music. I apologize. Let me find it. Ooh, great. That was fun, folks. That was a little intro to calculated killers, and so I wanted to move it up a bit. So, that was a little juice factor for everybody. Going, whoa, Deer Lab must be something special.
It is, and not to over tout it, but if you haven't checked out your lab, you need to. It's another great scouting tool for your quest and chasing that mature buck.
Let's talk about mature bucks. How long did it take you to shift from brown and down to, oh my goodness, I just shot a great doe. I'm happy with that. And there's nothing wrong with being happy with that today, but someplace along the line, people say, I'm just going to focus and I'm going to match with the big guy. I call him Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful, great name for it. I grew up on a big farm up in Southwest Virginia, actually, and I mean, it was a big farm, and we went deer hunting. We shot what we saw. We did it for years, and it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I've killed a slew of deer in my life, and I've killed a few nice ones. I've never killed a real high scored one, but I just wanted the challenge. And there was a buck on one of my properties. I never killed him, and he was about 100 in a North Carolina deer, about 140, 145-inch deer. And I chased that deer really hard for 2 years, and I didn't shoot anything else. And I never killed him. I actually never laid eyes on him. And it just changed my attitude about letting these animals get to a mature age. I mean, it increases the chase. It's harder. They're harder to hunt, and it's more rewarding when you do harvest those animals. You let them reach their maturity, and it's a chess match to see if you can outwit that deer. And it's been about, I guess, to answer your question, it's been about 5 years now that I've been chasing. 4 to 5 years I've been chasing mature animals.
So the three things that make a mature buck harder to get than, let's say, a 2.5, 3.5-year-old deer.
Number one hardest thing is smell, and you have to have serious scent control, and it's, I mean, not down to a T. My system. I stopped bathing in, how your wife gets you your smell good deodorant, all that stuff, and soap and all that. I'm done with that stuff right after turkey season. I go to scent-free stuff. Everything, all my clothes, my towels, everything that touches my body is in scent-free. There, scent crusher. We're big on the scent crusher bags, ozone stuff to help kill the smell, and Remington scent control. That's another huge thing that help with the scent. The second thing, I would say pressure. Mature deer don't like pressure at all, and down here in the South where we hunt is one of the most pressured areas in the U.S. And that's why these deer, if they make it to maturity here in North Carolina, they're just so hard to hunt because 90% of the time they're nocturnal deer. You just have to be there at the right time, right place to catch that deer traveling. He's been shot at. There's a hunter at every corner. There's a feeder at every corner. And to get on that deer, I mean, it sometimes it takes an act of God, I feel like. But scent control, pressure, and I think the third thing is it's just a mature buck. They're just they're hard to hunt. They're smart. They get big for no reason, and it's very hard to get on those animals.
So when you see, let's go back to the beginning. You went to the maps and you've got a bird's eye view of your terrain. You bought the terrain and you're looking for pinch points and funnels, and because we're talking timber, we're not talking agricultural. We're not talking
No.
swamp.
We're talking.
We're not talking, small wood lots surrounded by thousands of acres of ag land.
No.
You got creek bottoms and you know where the funnels are. It's just, can I be at the right place at the right time, because it's all laid out in some of the Midwestern places. Yeah, if there's a little swale in the middle of a 100-acre field, that's a good place for a big buck to hide, or standing corn. Just
Yeah.
they'll go lay down. But in the mountains, it's a lot different. So explain as best you can, what it's like to match wits with these mountain bucks from the beginning.
Everybody listening, let's imagine just tens of thousands of acres of continuous never-ending woodlots, and they're trying to pinpoint a certain deer in a certain area in these thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, and you get to a point like, what's the difference in this spot and this spot? They look the same. It's still the same woodlot. I mean, what's going to make him come here besides there? And that's what makes it so complicated. Is you got to find. You got to be there at the right time when they're moving, when they're chasing, and the rut. That's why the rut's so special in West Virginia. They get up, they go, they run, they move, and it's you have to be, by mapping. You have to be picking these spots and scouting these spots and putting boots on the ground and putting the trail cameras out. That's the only way you're going to be able to find where to be and how to be and when to be. And you got to be there, and you got to put your butt time in, and you got to wait them out. And Josh said something about a year ago to me, and it's really kind of stuck in my head. And he's right. If you get a picture of these mature bucks coming to a certain point, the way the terrain is so steep and rugged, there's an inevitability that they're eventually going to have to pass by that point. So it's just a waiting game. You got to be there with the right conditions, the right wind. You You got to be there with the right barometric pressure. You got to be there in the right set, the right stand. You got to have the good entrance, the good exit to it, and you just got to be there and put in your stand time, and just hope that the good Lord has His finger on you, and maybe you can get a shot at one of these mature bucks.
So, are you saying to me it's more of just a waiting game rather than trying to pattern a buck? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm not necessarily. Well, it's a waiting game if you're in the right place. If you can pattern him to an area, the work comes in first. You got to put the work in. You got to find out, pattern him, and figure out where he's coming to. You got to find his core area. You got to figure out where you can pinch him down to have a shot at him. And if you're getting him coming through this area multiple times during the day, you're close to his core area, or there's a hot doe in that area. He's rutting in that area. He's doing something in that area that he feels comfortable on his feet in the daylight. And yes, if you can find that area and you can get up in a stand and put the time in, eventually he is going to come by that point and you're going to have a shot at him.
So, how many hours do you think you put in before you even see a mature buck?
In the stand, or are you talking
In the stand.
off-season time? In the stand. Last year I hunted. I ate tag soup last year in West Virginia. I hunted up there the rut 7 days, all day sits. So about 8-9 hour sits. So I put 60, 70 hours in up there, and saw some deer. Didn't see the deer I was after, but who knows? I mean, it's some guys are lucky. Josh hunted hard for 5 or 6 days. I had a buddy who hunted for 2.5 hours and he tagged out. It just, again, right place, right time. Put the time in, and hopefully your opportunity will come across.
Hey, folks, when you go to their website, Calculated Killers on Facebook, you're going to see a pretty dynamic picture as far as I'm concerned. A buck has just been shot, and you can see the arrow right behind his shoulder. And tell me the story about that photo.
That was Josh and one of his buddies were hunting in Indiana. This was, let me think, not last year, the year before last. And Josh had a trail camera out, and his buddy actually shot that deer. And Josh shot the deer too. He helped put the deer down. But as his buddy shot the deer, it was in front of that camera, and the camera caught the arrow hitting the deer. Pretty cool picture, actually. Josh actually almost pulled that off again with the deer he killed this year. He was right in front of the camera, and he scared when Josh did a mouth bleat to kind of slow him down. He spooked and jumped out in front of the camera. But that's where that picture came from. Pretty neat picture.
Yeah, go visit at Calculated Killers on Facebook and get them. No way. That's photo doc or photo whatever.
No, that's a once in a lifetime shot right there. That was awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it's I thought it was way cool. Now, when we get ready for the season, talk to me about your early season prep. When do you start that? What does it consist of?
I deer hunt 365, man, and I'm in the woods year round scouting. I'll give you my timeline. After season, most of our seasons, West Virginia stops at December 31st. North Carolina stopped January 2nd this year. Virginia was January 3rd. So right about then, we're out of the woods. We start shed hunting about February. In there, February to here in North Carolina, it's been a warm winter, so there's still some bucks holding right now. So February into turkey, we shed hunt, turkey hunt, and then the work really starts. We get our mineral sites out April, run them through. We start hanging stands in April, getting our properties ready, getting them hung, getting our entrance and exit strategies in, getting our shooting lanes hung. I think that's huge for people. A lot of these hunters go out and they hang their stands 2 weeks before season. If you have a hot spot that you see deer, you need to have a stand hung in April. You need to have these stands there ready. Let the deer get used to them. If they're brand new, let the new smells get off of them, and have that stand there for that right time. I'll start my food plots. I'm not a big spring food plot guy. We do our fall food plots I start mine about August, late August, early September down here. Gets too hot down in the south. Up in West Virginia, we do a few spring plots on the old roads. It's about time for those now. And again, just year round running trail cameras, trying to figure these deer out, trying to figure the patterns out, and go from there. Again, early season prep to me is the biggest thing in hunting a mature deer. You have to be prepared for that animal. You have to be prepared. He's not a 2.5-year-old buck. You and I both know that, Bruce. He's not a 2.5-year-old buck. He's not a yearling buck. You have to be prepared and 2 steps ahead of him at every turn. And the only way you can do that is by putting in 100% effort every chance you get in the woods. I mean, from being scent free to hanging your stands correctly to putting your food plots in the correct places to having your minerals in the correct places, and that takes time, and that takes studying, mapping, that takes everything to be able to put the time and effort in needed to hunt these mature animals. And early season prep will get you to that point.
What about practicing with your bow, your scent control clothes? What's your prep on that?
Practicing my bow. We shoot all the time. There's actually an archery range about a mile from my house. Yadkin Valley Archery, great place to. Excuse me, sorry about that, Bruce. But we practice all the time. Shoot as much as we can. It's a good time to get your family out. My son loves to shoot, and I get him out with me. We walk around the field course, and I probably shoot 2 or 3 times a week during the off season, just to all that practice for that one opportunity. You get that one chance, and you want to be able to make it. Scent control. Again, like I said before, right after turkey season, I stop with the dial soap, the smell good soaps, the shampoos, the deodorants. Everything I use is scent free. Remington Scent Control, I want to give them a big shout out. They were actually the first company to give Josh and I an opportunity. Philip Dixon, he's our lead contact there, and the stuff works, man. And it's great for your off season stuff. You spray down, you go into your bedding areas to do some work. I mean, you don't want to be going in there smelling like a cheeseburger. You want to go in there and try to keep it low key and keep the human scent off of you, keep all the other food and smells and everything else off of you. And it's great stuff. Good sprays. They make other products as well. They make a dry foam. You get out in the summer and you're sweating, you can't take a shower. You can wipe down with this dry foam and get the smells off of you. Really great stuff. Scent Crusher, huge. We started that this year. I was a little skeptical of ozone when I first got going with it, but just seeing the success with it, I mean, it's awesome, man. It kills the bacteria, kills the odors. So if you get your shirt sweaty, and I'm a sweater, I would sweat in a furnace. I would sweat in a freezer, man. And you throw your stuff in there, and it kills all the smells. It gets all that stuff off your clothes, and it's huge. So Remington Scent Control, Scent Crusher, Ozone. Even in the off season, even when we're prepping our stuff, we're sprayed down, ready to go. Checking our cameras, we're sprayed down, and just trying to keep our scent at a minimum.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's a process, and you have to respect the process. And to be able to harvest a mature deer, you have to respect the process. And again, like you said, I mean, if you're hunting a 1.5, 2.5-year-old buck or deer or does, that's fine. But and I've grown past that stage, and what I'm chasing takes the process. And the deer we're chasing, Double D, he's going to be a 180-inch deer this year up in West Virginia. Oh, he's going to be a monster. And he's on our page. Check him out. It's the biggest deer I've ever gotten on trail camera myself. To be able to kill that deer, you have to be on your game. You have to be ready to go when the time comes. And something else, if you do these steps throughout the year, they become habit. You don't have to think about doing them. You don't have to think about it. You just know this is what you do. And when you see the success with it, it makes it easier to go through the process. My buddies make fun of me because before I get in a deer stand, I got like a 15-minute process to be getting ready. I spray down, get ready, get my boots on, I get dressed, I freeze my butt off outside the truck because I don't ride to my hunting places in my hunting clothes. And it just, it's my process, and it's worked well for me. Again, I haven't killed the real high scoring deer yet. Hopefully, Double D will be mine. But it's to hunt these mature deer. That's what it takes.
No, I just went to your website. It's Double D, the one that's looking to the left. He's in the oak
Yeah,
leaves along the fence. Along the fence.
no, you're looking at the double drop tine buck. Look at our profile picture, and you see the double drop tine buck.
Yeah, let me get. I'm trying to save this right now because you should see this buck, folks. Go to his page because it's amazing.
We have another deer too up in Logan. His name's Palmer. He'll be a high 70s deer too. He's a stud. He's a really big deer.
Okay, so I'm on your page. I want to bring this up because I'm going to share it on the site. So I'm on your site. So where would double D be?
There's about 100 pictures of him up on there. Look at the profile pic. You can see that there. See the pic with calculated killers and all the black pictures in it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Double D in velvet. If you go on into the photos, if you actually go down, Josh made a GIF of him sparring with another 140-inch 9-pointer. Pretty cool picture there.
So you just got to go to your photos.
Yeah, photos there, and you should be able to see him. He's a stud of a deer. But when he was in velvet last year, we guessed him at about 185. He did drop a lot out of velvet. I still think he was high 60s, low 70s last year. I have a feeling he's going to be pushing the 80s this year. So he's going to be a special deer. Whoever gets the opportunity to harvest him, hopefully it's me. But I just want to be part of the. If he's harvested, I just hope I'm there to actually lay hands on him.
Yeah. So there are big deer in the mountains now. How do they grow that big? Let's talk about that because
I think. And let's keep in mind this is southern West Virginia. There are no big crop fields. It's just non-existent there. I really think age class has a lot to do with it. Again, where it's bow only, these deer are actually able to survive to that 4.5, 5.5, 6, 7, to where they can get some age and put some mass and antler growth on. And though not every deer is a 180-inch deer, you're going to have your 6-year-old 140-inch deer, but there are some special deer in those mountains. Josh did a study on our page too, comparing the bow only counties to the Midwest counties to the Ohio counties, and those 4 counties stack up very well to any other Midwest county in the United States for mature deer. And again, that's because there's no guns being shot legally. I'm sure there's some poaching going on everywhere. And it's just harder to hunt. I mean, you're hunting huge mountain terrain for these deer that can spread out over miles and miles of woodlots, and it gives them a chance to reach maturity and live.
I'm just thinking, haven't spent a lot of time in the Appalachian Mountains, but I've spent enough time there, and I've been through the Smokies and that stuff. And I live in the mountains. I live underneath the 14,000-foot peak at Pikes Peak, and I'm thinking, what are your hills? 3,000, 4,000 feet, 2,000 feet?
About 2,800, 3,000. Not huge. But they're big to us. They're not like 14,000 feet. I'd be lost even thinking about something like that. But I think the highest point on our lease is 2850 or 32, somewhere around in there. It's High Knob. That's the highest point on our lease. But it's real steep terrain, and it's you go drop in elevation very quickly. You be at 2,800 feet for about 30 steps, then you drop down to 2,100 feet. You walk up 2 and slide down 3. So it's rough terrain.
The last thing we want to talk about here is the adventure, and it's all about the adventure. That's what you says, and the friendships made along the way. So let's unpack that, and then we'll wrap the show.
Uh, the adventure to me is everything. Some people get really caught up in the kill. The kill is just it's a minuscule thing for me. It's a the friendships you make, the new areas you get to see, the new people you meet, and the chase. I mean, it's with deer hunting out of state. I don't know if you do much of it, Bruce, or not, but uh, we you take a lot of time away from your family, and it's good to meet friends and enjoy that time with other people. And the adventure. It's all for me. That's what it is. It gets my heart pumping. It's what gets me out of bed at 4 in the morning to be able to chase these deer. It Even if I don't see anything, I just enjoy waking up in the woods and being there and chasing a dream. And that's what the adventure is to me. Being somewhere and in West Virginia. I mean, let's be honest. You can be a place in a deer stand, and there's not another human within 4 or 5 miles of you, maybe more, and you're there alone. And it's a huge adventure to me. To do it more, I guess, more or less, it's a self goal. It's a goal of mine to survive in that situation, succeed in that situation, chase that mature mountain buck, and do it myself with and make it happen on my own. And then that's what the adventure is to me, is the chase, learning these deer, being a part of it, making new friends, being hanging out with my friends, introducing my son to it, to the adventure, and being calculated. Earn your reputation. That's our uh, motto, and you earn your reputation by putting in the hard work and again, just being part of the adventure.
Well, thanks for that. We're in time in the show. You got a couple minutes to give shout outs. I know we've given the shout outs to John Livingston and I want to mention Wilderness Athlete and Fit to Hunt and my friend Brian Ritchie over at Moon Stands and the great people at Trees and Camo, led by Cobb Sanders. So, having said that, why don't you give some shout outs to your folks and we'll wrap the show.
All right, good deal. First, I want to start with Remington Scent Control. Again, he was the first company to give us an opportunity and a great product. If you want to check them out, go to remingtonscentcontrol.com. Then we're going to Hawk tree stands, best tree stands on the market, in my opinion. Just most comfortable, most innovative company out there. Great stands. If you're in the market, check them out. Scent Crusher, another one of the new companies around the block. They gave us an opportunity, and it's a great product, guys. It really is. If you're like me and you would sweat in a freezer, it's a great product. Keep your clothes clean. It keeps you from having to wash them all the time, and longevity of clothes. And it's again, scent off, game on. Spartan trail cameras is the biggest one for me. I love my wireless cameras. Spartan is the way to go. If you're looking for a new wireless trail camera or trying to get into the game with wireless trail cameras, very easy to use, very easy to set up, affordable rates each month, and great cameras on top of that. And then last but not least, Nationwide Deer Sense. Those guys are great. Uh, best price urine on the market, and it is the best quality urine on the market. We've had a lot of great success with Nationwide, and we appreciate them letting us team up with them and helping us out where they do.
Well, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, thanks for giving us some insights about hunting the West Virginia mountains and the country down there in the southeast. So, again, thank you, John Fore, for being on the show, and wish you all the best. You and John Bias for Calculated Killers.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for having us.
Coming up next on Whitetail Rendezvous is Donald Hill. Now, who's Donald Hill? Well, he runs Oak Creek Whitetail Ranch. Yes, we're going to talk about a whitetail preserve, high fence, whatever you want to call it. Plus, Donald's a little unique. Why? Because he also has over 1,000 acres of free ranging deer, and he has an elk breeding operation. So when you go visit Oak Creek Whitetail Ranch, you got three things to take a look at and consider. You could be a breeder, you could be a hunter, or you could be somebody that says, "Hey, I haven't hunted a lot of whitetails. I don't have a lot of time, but I'm interested in taking a great buck." So Donald's going to share all that and more about his experiences and his growth in the deer business, the whitetail business, which is a huge economy. Stay tuned. I think you're going to like it.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.